Welcome dear students to today's class. Today we are going to understand control statements and the for loops in Java. So welcome aboard students. Let me start by introducing myself. I am Dr. Subodh Prasad. I am working in the capacity of Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Technology in the College of Technology, Govind Vallabh Pant, University of Agriculture and Technology, Pantnagar, Uttarakhand. So, the learning objectives of today shall be the following. The first one will be control flow statements in Java. The second one will be understanding loops. The third one will be the loop conditions, and the fourth one will be the loop examples. Now, what exactly are the control flow statements in Java? Control flow statements let you control the flow of the execution of the code in your program. In Java programming language, you can control the flow of execution of the code by placing the decision making looping and jumping the control of the program. This means that in any programming language like in Java, the control of the execution of program begins at a particular place. After that, the control passes to the next statements. But using these control flow statements in Java, you can change the control flow statements, you can change the direction of the flow of statements to a particular block of the program. This can be done using the following control flow statements in Java. These are of three types. The first type is decision making statements. Decision making statements are particularly of these three kinds: the if statements, the if else statements, the switch statements. In the if statements, what we have to do? We have to write a condition, and if that particular condition is true, it is evaluated to be true, then a particular block of the code gets executed. In the if else statements, or we can say in the nested if else statements, what happens if a particular block or if a particular condition appears to be true, a boolean value 2 is returned to the compiler, then the next block of the code which is attached to it gets executed. In the if else, nested if else statements, then the nested if else is checked. If that particular condition appears to be true, then the corresponding block of the code gets executed. And similarly, it happens for n number of if else in that particular code. But it is certainly beneficial to write a switch statement if there are multiple if else statements. Now, what is a switch statement? A switch statement is that statement in which there are so many conditions which are attached to a switch, and the particular statements, the particular conditions lead to various blocks of programs. So each block of program is controlled by a switch statement. Whenever a condition to a corresponding switch gets executed, then the condition which is boolean, which returns the boolean true, the code after that, the code that is marked with that switch will get executed, and only that part will get executed, other parts will not get executed. This is the beauty of switch statement. In the jump statements, we can see there are two statements: the break statement and the continue statement. The break statement, as you would have seen also in switch statement, what a break statement does: a break statement breaks the flow of control in a particular place at the program, and the block at which the break statement is applied, if that block is executed, then the complete block of the code will not get executed, and then the control will return to its outer block. This is the beauty of the break statement. Mostly the switch statements use this break statement. The continuous statement, on the other hand, if you place the continuous statement at a place, the next block of the continuous statement will definitely get executed even if the condition will appears to be false. This is the beauty of the continuous statement. Now the next kind of statement, the flow control statements, is the loop statements. There are three kind of loop statements that you can see in Java. The first one is the for loop, the second one is the while loop, the third one is the do while loop. These three kind of loop statements are there. Now we are going to understand what are for loops in this particular topic. So first of all, let us understand what loops are in order to understand what the different types of loop statements does. So in programming, some things which we need to execute the block of codes repeatedly. These statements help us to repeatedly do a particular block of the code. Then the loop statements are used to execute the set of instructions in a repeated order. Then the execution of these set of instructions depends upon a particular condition. Only when a particular condition will get satisfied, only after that the particular block of the code gets executed, right? So the loop statements in Java, as I have already told you, these are the following three kinds of loops in Java: for loop, while loop, and the do while loop. So let us start with the for statement, for loop in Java. So this for loop consists of four parts. The first part is the initialization. The initialization, it is the initial condition which is executed once the loop starts. Hence, we can initialize a variable which we are going to use afterwards. It is an optional condition that we have to initialize, and then we have to initialize and give it the value at the same time, or we can already give it the value at the previous part of the program. This is optional, that we can see in the example that we will see in the next slides. Then what is the condition? The next part is the condition. The condition is a particular boolean value which will be calculated depending upon a is less than b, or a is greater than b, or a is equal to b, or a greater than equal to or less than equal to. All these conditions return a boolean true or false to the compiler, and after that, that particular code, that particular block of the code gets executed, or it doesn't get executed. It all depends upon the condition. And after that condition is satisfied and the block gets executed, there is an increment decrement. So this increment decrement condition is already placed in the for loop in the starting itself, and this increment and decrement is done according to that particular condition only. Then after that there is a statement. What is the statement? The statement is the code that will be executed that many times, as many times the for loop gets executed, right? This is the block of the code. It is the statement of the program for which we had applied the for loop in Java. So now let us see this particular control flow diagram. This shows how the for statement helps any program to perform repeated action. What this shows: initialization. Initially there is an initialization. After that a condition is checked, and if that condition appears to be true, then that statement of the program that is given to us gets executed. After it gets executed, there is an increment. Because of the for loop, there is an increment, and after that, if the increment is done, then again the condition is checked for which the for loop was first time executed. If the condition still holds true, again the statement is executed which is following just after the for loop. After that again an increment will be done, and if the condition again appears to be true, then this particular loop will get going as many times because the condition is true all the times. And when this condition gets false, this loop exits itself. This is clearly shown in this control flow diagram of the for statement. After that, we can see the syntax of the for loop in Java. So what is the syntax? Syntax actually means it is a method, a proper way of writing the particular block of code, because every syntax is given by the programming language developers that this is the only way of writing a particular for loop or a particular while loop or particular anything like in this Java programming language. So syntax of for loop starts with initialization. You have to initialize the variable, then you have to put a condition which will be checked that many times a particular for loop is done. After that, incrementation or decrementation will be done. All these three parts will be separated by semicolons. Semicolons show that there are three parts in this for loop, right? After that, in this for loop, we can see that there are curly braces. These curly braces, inside of these curly braces, there are statements or codes which are to be executed. Then the for loop, as we can see in this example, the for loop starts. This is the particular method by which for loop we can write public class, for example, then public void, static void main, strings argument that are being passed into it. And for the for loop, we can see that int I is equal to 1. This is the initialization part. Then we have put a semicolon. After that, we have shown I which is less than 2. Then there is semicolon. Then we have put I plus plus. I plus plus is equal to I plus 1. Means if you write I plus plus or if you write I is equal to I plus 1, these both things mean the same thing, right? So what will happen when this for loop gets executed? First of all, this I will be given the value 1. After that, this particular block of the code which is written just after that, system.out.println, and in parentheses we have written my name is Gaurav. You can write anything like this over here. My name is Avinash, my name is Neha, my name is Pooja, whatever that is. You can write anything over here. This will show you that how many times this will get executed, right? Now we are going to see an example of for loop. To write for loop, first of all we will write the public class like this. We have seen this is an example. We have taken the camel casing for example in the first line. After that, our curly braces are starting. After that, we have written public static void main, and in the parentheses we have written strings arguments which are being passed. After that, we have again put the curly braces. Then we have written the for, and then we have written int I is equal to 1 semicolon, I is less than 2 semicolon, I plus plus, and parenthesis close. Then curly braces starts. After that, we have written system.out.println and parenthesis, then double inverted commas, in which we have written my name is Gaurav. After that, we have put a semicolon, and then the curly braces are being closed, and then again the curly braces are being closed, and then again the curly braces are being closed. The curly braces, three curly braces we have started, and therefore we have to put 3 curly braces to close them in the proper way, right? Now we are basically interested in this program because we are going to see what a for loop does. Now in this example, the for loop initializes by a variable named I, int I, and it is assigned a value 1 just after the initialization of the for loop. Int I is equal to 1. Just as you write int I is equal to, when this program gets executed, the value and the initialization both are done at the same time. Most of the programmers use this initialization and assignment of the value for the for loop at this particular place itself, because it is more convenient like this. Then a semicolon, after which you have written a condition I is less than 2, and after that an increment or decrement operator. In this particular case, you can see I plus plus corresponds to I is equal to I plus 1, right? After that, you can see that there is a line which we have to print. Now let us see what this for loop will do. As soon as this control of the program will get to this for loop, this I is equal to 1 value will be assigned to I, and this condition will be checked after that. Is 1 less than 2? Then the compiler will take out a boolean value out of it. Is it a true statement or is it a false statement? Is 1 less than 2? So the answer to this is true. Yes, 1 is less than 2 because we have got a boolean true. Then we can see it from this particular control flow diagram that whenever the condition appears to be true, what the compiler does, the next thing it does is it executes the statement. So over here what the statement is, system.out.println, it shows my name is Gaurav. So this particular line, my name is Gaurav, will get printed on the screen. So just below in the slide, the last line, you can see the output, my name is Gaurav. Hence you will see the printout, my name is Gaurav, right? But still our program is not over. right? Again, you can see in this control flows diagram, after this statement is checked, an increment is done. Now how this increment is done? Now take a look in this for loop. The increment operator that we have put in the for loop line, the last line is I plus plus. So there is a increment of value 1. I plus plus means I is equal to I plus 1. So after one time when this for loop gets executed once, I was 1, in the starting my name is Gaurav is printed. After that increment of 1 unit is done, therefore I becomes 2. Now again this for condition will check, is 2 less than 2? No, 2 is not less than 2. Hence what it will give? The boolean value that it will return to the compiler will be false. Now we will see in this diagram what happens when the false is achieved. As soon as the false is achieved, this particular condition is false, the complete for loop gets executed. Sorry, the complete for loop gets exited. So after the exiting from this condition, the control gets out, and in this particular program there is nothing more that has to be executed. Therefore, in the output screen you will only see one output, that is my name is Gaurav. Right? Now take a look at this example. This is another example of for loop. In the previous example we had seen that for loop initialized was from I is equal to 1. In this particular example what we have done is we have taken int I is equal to 0, and the condition that we are checking is I is less than 2, and then again the increment that we are doing is I plus plus, or I is equal to I plus 1. And again in this particular example system.out.println shows my name is Gaurav. So what do you think will happen in this particular program? In this particular program, the for loop is starting from I is equal to 0, and then first time it will be checking, for loop will be checking, is 0 less than 2? Yes, 0 is less than 2. So this will return to the compiler a boolean value true. So we will go back and see in our control flow diagram, when the condition appears to be true, it is given, the compiler saying, the compiler is returned the value boolean value true, then what happens? The statement gets executed. Now let us come back to the example. Over here the condition is evaluated, I is 0 and 0 is less than 2. Therefore the system.out.println this line gets executed, and therefore in the output screen once my name is Gaurav will get printed, right? And after that what we have to do is an increment, because like in this control flow diagram you can see after this statement gets executed there is an increment. So the increment in this particular example is I plus plus, which means I is equal to I plus 1. So I is equal to I plus 1, then it means then the value of 0 will now become 1, because we have increased the value by 1. Now again for loop will check that is I is less than 2, or that means 1 is less than 2. Yes, it is true that 1 is less than 2. Therefore what we will do, what the compiler will do, it will execute the system.out.println my name is Gaurav. This line will get executed, and because this line get executed, you will see on the output screen again my name is Gaurav. So this my name is Gaurav has got print 2 times till now. Now we can see that again the next step will be the increment. After the particular block has got executed, the next step is the increment. The increment is again I plus plus, again I is equal to I plus 1. Now the value of I, which was 1 previously, now it will become 2. So now the for loop will check the condition is if 2 is less than 2. No, that is not true, and therefore a false will be returned. Let's get back to this control flow diagram now. You will see in this diagram that a false indicates an exiting from the particular loop, and because an exiting is done, therefore this program will no longer get executed. It will be finished over here, and the output screen will display only 2 times my name is Gaurav has got printed, right? Now let us take another example of the for statement. Now over here what difference we have done? This difference what we have done is, Basically what I am trying to do is, over here I am trying to give you an insight into how initialization is done, how an increment is done, and how condition is checked, because all these boolean values that are returned true or false, it only decides that the output is going to come or not, or the block of the code is going to come or not. Therefore you have to be very careful when you are going to see this for loop. Again I am telling this thing that in for loop there is initialization, and then there is a condition checking, and then there is an increment. These three things are there inside the for loop. And one more thing, dear students, you must keep in mind, after you write the for loop there is no semicolon. Most of the students do this mistake, and then in their exams also they do this mistake, and in the practical also they do this mistake. Please remember that in the for loop there is no semicolon after writing the for statement, right? Now let's see in this particular for loop what is happening. For statement, you write for I is equal to 0. Now this time you have started from I is equal to 0, and till when will you run this particular code? Till I is less than or equal to 2, and every time you will increment by I by value 1, I plus plus. It means I is equal to I plus 1. I have already told you many times. Now the next line, which is just after this for loop, or the block of code that is following the for loop, is system.out.println, and in parenthesis my name is Gaurav. Now what will be the output? The first time there will be the value I is equal to 0, and therefore when the value of I is 0, it means 0 is less than or equal to 2. This condition will be checked, and what value will it return? It will return a value of true, because yes, 0 is less than or equal to 2. Yes, it is less than 2. Therefore boolean value true will be returned. Therefore the compiler will execute the next line. The next line is system.out.println my name is Gaurav. This line gets executed, and my name is Gaurav gets printed on the screen. The next, what happens? I is incremented by 1. Now the value of I will become 1, and then the compiler will check that is 1 less than or equal to 2. Yes, 1 is less than 2. Therefore again the compiler will be returned a value true, boolean value true. Therefore again this statement will get executed, and the statement will print my name is Gaurav once again on the screen. After this, what will happen? After this, again there will be an increment of 1, because I plus plus is there. This increment shows that the next value will be 2, and then this I becomes 2, and then the next will be the checking. The condition I is less than or equal to 2. Is 2 less than or equal to 2? Yes, 2 is equal to 2. Therefore again this will return a boolean value true to the compiler, and then this particular line will get executed once again. So again, third time my name is Gaurav will get printed on the screen. Now you have to see in this example, and in this previous example, and this one more previous example, there are initializations and there are condition checking. In the first example, what we had done was taken the I initial value from 1 and checked till 2. I is less than 2. So how many times could it run? It could run only one time. It would be running only when I was equal to 1, because the next time I was then 2, and 2 was not less than 2. Therefore this output was one time, and over here what I done, we had taken that I is 0, and then after that we had checked its value is 0 less than 2, and then increment by 1. So this was running 2 times, and in this third example, if you could see it properly, and there was less than or equal to checking, right? There were 3 condition checking, less than, and then this is the less than or equal to sign. So this or equal to this will be running 3 times. Therefore you have to keep in mind, you have to take it very seriously, you have to look into for loop very carefully, that how many times is this going to run. Now this is the next example of for loop. Till now we had seen an increment in the for loop. Now we are going to see a decrement in the for loop. Now therefore I was telling you just now that always very closely see the for loop, for statement inside the for loop. Over here I is initialized 2, and we have to check till I is greater than 0, and every time we have to decrease the value of I by 1. I is equal to I minus 1. This is also written as I minus minus. The next line is system.out.println, and what is the output? My name is Gaurav. So first time when I is equal to 2, over here you can see that yes, 2 is greater than 0. Therefore, my name is Gaurav will get printed once. Then again the next time I will be decremented by 1. I minus minus is there. Therefore, the next value of I will now be 1. Is 1 greater than 0? Yes, 1 is greater than 0 definitely. Therefore, again my name is Gaurav will get printed once again. And again the decrement will be there of 1. Therefore, the next value of I will become 0. Now, is 0 greater than 0? No, 0 is not greater than 0. Therefore, third time this loop will not get executed. Now see it very closely. Had there been I greater than or equal to 0 sign also there, then at that particular point of time, again this loop would have got executed and the output would have shown my name is Gaurav. But still, you can see that there is no equal to sign after I is greater than 0. There is no greater than sign in between I greater than equal to 0. Therefore, this loop got executed only 2 times. Right? Over here, you can see in this example, there is a sign of equal to in between of I greater than 0. Therefore, over here, just now I told this will get executed 3 times. Right? So, always dear students, see the for loop very closely. A for loop does not have a semicolon at the end. A for loop has 3 parts. First is initialization, second is condition checking, and the third one is incrementation or decrementation. Take it very seriously and see it very closely. Pay great attention because humans make mistakes, but when you write a code program, when you execute it, the same output you will get every time. As many times you will get the program, that many times you will get the same output. Now, there is a last example of this for loop. In this example, we are going to print a pyramid like structure. Now you are already very much familiar with one for loop. Over here there are 2 for loops. The first for loop is giving the value of 1 first time, and in the second for loop, j initialize 1, it will be checked is j less than or equal to 1. When it will be checked, j is less than or equal to, the first time the value of j will be 1. So the first time the value of I is 1 and j is 1. Therefore, first time this will get printed. The print is a star will get printed, and then the second for loop, which is inside the first for loop, the j1, it increase the value j plus plus, and then the value of j is now 2, is 2 less than or equal to 1, because i's value is 1 right now, and this is not true. Therefore, this will not get executed. And again you see the value of I will become now 2, because I is incremented by 1, it will become 2, and this time this 2 will be again in the second for loop. You can see j is equal to 1 and j less than or equal to I. At this time I is 2. So yes, it is 2. So this star will get printed once. Now you can see it in the output down below also. You can see it. And then again the j will be incremented by 1, because j will be incremented once more, and then this condition of j is less than or equal to I. This time this will be executed 2 times, therefore, right? And then the control will go to again I, and this time I will be 3. So in the again the third time when this for loop of j will be executed, it will be executed 3 times. Similarly, like this you can make the program, and I will suggest you that you go and make so many programs you will make, the better you will get the understanding, the better you will see the output, the better you will gain more interest in programming, the better you will be in programming. So let us take a quick summary. In this today's lecture, what we have seen is control flow statements in Java. We had seen what are the concepts and the working of loops, for loop syntax, and then the various example of for loops. So thank you so very much, dear students, for your kind attention. Please keep in mind whatever I have told you. Thank you once again.